back to the Lions Den podcast. This is your host, Josiah Laird. I'm here with my co-host,
Kazin Galbraith.
and today we have Trey Thaxton on our podcast.
What's good, fellas?
Man, how you doing, man?
What's up?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Man,
Good to be here.
Happy you're here, man. Well, let's just get straight to this. What inspired you to become an entrepreneur
Man,
in the clothing industry?
what inspired me, honestly, I've always been just enjoy business. I like creating things. My background's in branding and design, and I like the idea of just taking what doesn't exist and bringing it to real life, like taking the invisible, making it visible. So like whatever that led to, I just loved that idea.
That's good, man. See, I ain't gonna lie. I was thinking about, starting to clothing business or
Okay.
not.
What kind of clothes?
Let's start off with jackets,
Okay.
like hoodies,
Okay.
zip-ups, whatnot.
Money.
It's gonna be smooth.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me
We always
too.
talk about
I'm gonna
that.
definitely start my clothing brand.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
How do you incorporate your culture into like clothing designs?
My culture in the clothing design is a good question. So the impetus for Greenwood Ave, the reason it exists is to celebrate Black entrepreneurs in Tulsa. I might be jumping ahead to one of your questions, but I grew up in Tulsa since I was 11 years old. So I moved here in 1999, probably before I was born, honestly.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Don't make me feel that old.
Mhm.
It's all good, man.
But yeah, I didn't hear about the massacre until like my mid-20s. Like it was way after I moved here. And once I did hear about it, it was a lot about like the deaths and the 300 deaths and the buildings being destroyed and the money lost. And I was like, you know what, that's obviously a terrible tragedy. But for me, just as a believer, I'm like, you know what, there's power, not just the power of that story is in the resurrection, that it was rebuilt the year later, that it was rebuilt and be even bigger and better. So I was like, how do we celebrate that? How do we highlight the resurrection? To me, that can inspire people. So that's what I try to infuse into the clothes. That's why I even started it. So that's what I try to put my culture, not just Black culture, but also my faith culture as well.
So your brand name is Greenwood. What is it?
Greenwood Ave.
Greenwood Ave.
Yes, sir.
So I have a question. What makes your brand stand out from any other brand that says Greenwood and the meaning of that?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I even hesitated to call it that when I first started, just knowing there's no other Greenwood brands, but there's a lot of shirts and shops that just sell things that say Greenwood on it. But for me, being a designer, I was like, I haven't seen it done in a way that I would personally do it. So the idea wasn't even to like let's do this to make $1 million. It was just let's do this to infuse my sensibility, my taste into what I
Right.
believe Greenwood should represent and can represent. So a lot of people, especially here, even outside of Tulsa, they use it to capitalize on the name. Not saying cast aspersions on any one company, but my goal, we also give 10% of our proceeds back to community building efforts in North Tulsa,
That's nice.
organizations like
I like
Crossover
that.
Prep, like Oasis, who's eliminating food deserts in North Tulsa.
Yeah.
So I try to not just me make $1 off of it, but how can we inspire people, but also use that to give to the city, the community that we're also highlighting and talking about.
I like that.
I like that too, man. What challenges do you face as a Black entrepreneur in
Man,
Tulsa? In the Tulsa like business landscape, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a Tulsa business landscape. I mean, really any landscape. It's being an entrepreneur is hard, as anybody would tell you, and it's kind of a lonely road for me. Not just in this business, but just not going to school for this. Like I have an associate's degree in applied sciences. Like that's not nowhere near business degree whatsoever. So a lot of times will say like I didn't have a blueprint doing this. Like I'm figuring out as I go along. A lot of times people will tell you like you jump off the cliff and then you build the parachute while you're flying, and that's kind of where I'm at. That's been my biggest challenge is like how do I create this multi-million-dollar conglomerate that I see in my head without a blueprint, and that's been a tougher challenge for me. But in Tulsa specifically, it's been great to have a brand that represents not just Black Tulsa but Tulsa well. And the one plus is that when I talk to people outside of Tulsa, they know Tulsa one because of a church here or Greenwood. That's how people know Tulsa. So I'm like, this is a great export that we should be highlighting and celebrating, and something that people can connect to. And I really created this to be a bridge from Tulsa to the rest of the world, from Black culture to white culture, from Black entrepreneurs to other inspirational Black entrepreneurs. So in that regard, it's been a joy to kind of help build this thing.
So basically, it's a deeper meaning to you than just fashion. It's more of like it all correlates, and it has like it's more than just the clothes
Yeah.
itself, but it's the meaning behind it and what you stand for. and I like it because you're actually giving black people, like, you're letting them know that it's not just the clothes,
Mhm.
it's just like what happened and what occurred, and showing some type of like impact and that people care.
Yeah, yeah,
So
okay.
I like that.
For
That's
sure.
cool.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, that's 100% what it is. For me, it's really more than fashion. To me, it's about purpose. And that's really my personal purpose in life, is to be a bridge. Like, I'm a middle child. So I'm in the middle of an older sister, younger brother. I've always been one of the only black kids in any of my classes growing up. I hooped in high school, so I was on the team, but I was also in all AP classes. So I was with the nerds and the, with the jocks and the hoopers. So I was always kind of a bridge to these different cultures and lifestyles. So I think with this and what I do with my work is how do I use that and try to be a bridge to different things. So the clothes, it's really a touch point and an entry point, a conversation starter. I have these Black Wall Street jackets I wear at the airport, and somebody comes to me like, hey, like, what is that? Or I'd heard about that, or that was messed up, and it opens the doors for a conversation. I get a lot of emails around that too, of teachers wearing it in their classroom, or being able to use the clothes to start a bigger conversation around not just what happened, but also, like, for me, into purpose.
You got it for sure.
So what would you say to maybe the youth, people younger than you that are maybe trying to start a clothing brand, trying to get into similar to what you're doing? What
Yeah.
would you say to that?
Don't wait for permission.
Right.
That's one thing a friend of mine told me, is you don't need permission to start. Like, I think a lot of times it's me growing up, or I hear people is like, I want it to be perfect, or I don't have a name yet, I don't have the designs yet, I don't have the skill yet, I don't have a designer, I don't know how to work XYZ, I don't know where to get shirts from. But, like, start with where you are. If you can draw, like, start drawing. If you know how to design, start making designs. If you know colors well, start putting colorways together. Like, just start with where you are. And I think a lot of people get paralyzed by perfection a lot of times. Like, they don't start till it's perfect. But if you wait till it's perfect, then it's too late. So I would say just start where you are. Read a book, ask questions, reach out to people. I emailed so many people when I first got started. I was like, hey, how'd you do this? Where'd you get these blanks from? Like, is this how do you price things? Like, just asking questions. I got a few no's, but the yeses that I did get, I still have relationships with some of those people today. So it's just really just starting.
Yeah, and you don't need a degree or anything just to start
At all.
Like, you can just jump straight into it.
At all.
That's what I want to do with my clothing brand, because I'm thinking of the idea. It's called social misfit.
Okay.
It's meaning like someone that doesn't stand in with society.
Mm-hmm.
They're a misfit. So, and I feel like that relates to a lot of people around the world, not just in my area.
For sure.
So I'm thinking about doing that. So,
yeah, I love the name.
sure.
That's sounds global. It's a dope name.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Run with it, bro.
I am.
Can you share any like significant milestones of like your business or achievements or whatnot?
Significant milestones. Yeah, well, last year we launched, I'll say in 2018 is when we launched the T-shirts. I was taking the names that were on the original Black Wall Street and making like vintage shirts out of them. So, like, Dreamland Theater, Rainbow Cap Company, just to get the conversation going. Since then, we've launched the video series, just highlighting other, Black entrepreneurs here in Tulsa. Even doing that series led to some other projects I got to do through our creative agency, Gold Mill. if you guys have been to Greenwood Rising yet, my company, I wrote, produced, and directed the opening film that plays in there. So, like, you can see some of our Greenwood Ave merch because I created it. So a lot of our stuff is in there. Got a chance to direct a commercial for T-Mobile a couple years ago, just all through starting this brand of Greenwood Ave. So those are some great milestones that allowed me to start hiring a few people on the team. As of last year, we got y'all. I'm sure y'all hoopers, y'all follow basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So Drew Holiday, he plays for the Celtics now, but during the bubble in 2020, he started giving part of his paycheck to Black entrepreneurs in different cities. He's been doing it for the past 4 years. Last year, we were part of one of his grantees. So him and his wife, Drew and Lauren Holiday, we got part of their foundation grant. So that allowed us to produce our magazine, which we launched last year. Last year, got into Barnes & Noble in September. And then this year, we're about to we'll be the official merch sponsors for Juneteenth, coming up here in less than a month. So there's been a few things here and there. Not all great, but all things that have helped me keep it pushing forward. So
What role does sustainability play in your manufacturing process?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say we haven't done a ton of cut and sew just yet. We're starting to dabble in that. So I know that's can be a big driver for a lot of people in their mindset. Is it sustainable? Some people don't care. They just want to look good and make sure it don't break the bank on them.
Yeah.
But it's something we've been dialoguing about as we dig into, factories and doing cut and sew and part of why I'm not huge on fashion. I like what I like, and my sensibility is kind of just in the clothes. But we don't just produce a bunch of stuff like kind of overkill. I'm not trying to mass produce. It's like if we do a piece, it has a purpose to it, and there's a reason behind it. It's not just let's do 1 million pieces and sell what we can, and then the rest goes to a landfill. Like I would say more sustainability in that regard of like not overproducing versus like let me make sure this is like bamboo and getting it from a landfill. I haven't dug that deep into it yet, so
it makes sense.
Yeah,
That does make sense. How do you manage or overcome like setbacks and failures of your business?
Ooh, man, that's an excellent question. Something I'm figuring out literally every day. I think one way to go is like I'll say I couldn't do this without like having a relationship with God. Like I don't know how people run a business without Christ, like or some type of faith background. Like it is literally, I would say, impossible for me to do that. Having my wife of 11 years by my side and backing me is also helpful when I'm had a bad day or something didn't go right. She's always there to help me, stay focused on the right track. But yeah, man, it really is just a faith and a know that's where I'm going is for me. I think a lot of times I always say lead with purpose, because if you have purpose as a goal, you always have something to strive for. If I was just doing this for money, if I got some money, then it would be cool. If I didn't get money, I would be devastated. But for me, it's really about purpose. So whether I have a bad day or a good day, I know on the other side of this trial is purpose, and that's what I'm chasing after. It's not anything else besides that. So that keeps me able to go forward. So when stuff comes up, it's either stepping stones or stumbling blocks. Like it can be a rock. I can either trip over this thing or I can use this to like, okay, this didn't go the way I wanted to, but I'm gonna fail forward and I'm gonna use this as a step to get to the next thing.
Some people might not agree with what you are doing. What do you have to say about that? Like, what do you have to say? I know you still persevere and you still go on with what you're doing, but what do you have to say for the people that disagree with?
They disagree as in like promoting black businesses?
Yeah.
I'll say for this specifically, and it's funny, we had a shop over at Mother Road Market here in Tulsa. I got to preface that because I know this is a global podcast, so everybody's not from here. So there's a food hall here in Tulsa, and we had a shop there for about 1.5 years, and it's not on the black side of town. So we get a lot of non-black people come in. We'll just be like, they'll be like, I lived in Tulsa for 40 years. I didn't even know about this, which is wild to hear. But also a lot of people will ask, like, can I, like, whisper to me, can I wear this? Like, is this okay? No, they didn't agree with it, but they just didn't, there was some uncomfortability there. Yeah. And I think the beauty of what this is, like, it is that bridge. It's that conversation opener. And I always tell them, like, this isn't just black history. Like, this is America's history. Like, if you are in America, this happened to all of us. Like, yes, black people were affected the most, but this is part of our history as Americans, not just black history. So in that regard, that's kind of how I spin it. It's like, yo, this is all of our history. Like, yeah, this is who we are. The good and the bad.
That is crazy. That is like burning bridge. Like, people don't know like whether or not if they should wear it or not. I feel like everybody should wear it.
Yeah.
Like, that is American.
Yeah, I mean, it's made for anyone. Yes, it says black history, but I always tell them too, if you are wearing it, be prepared to have a conversation with somebody and ask you about it.
For sure.
But it is, again, hopefully doing it in a way where people feel, they like the aesthetic, and it's an easy way to show your support and be open to those conversations as well.
Can you discuss any like future collaboration? Oh yeah, you're right. My fault. Can you discuss any like future collaborations with business partners?
Yeah, 100%. So the magazine's been a whirlwind for sure. Like my background's in, like I said, print and design, so y'all probably maybe never picked up a magazine before, but everything's going digital now. But when I was coming up, like that print was like it, and I still have a love for it. So we launched it last year, and everybody was like, don't put all your money into print because everyone's going digital, which I agree with. But it's something I still wanted to do, and it's been a great kind of door opener. So through that, we've been able to. You guys golf? Y'all golf at all?
Yeah.
So Eastside Golf?
Yeah.
So I just got back from New York last month shooting with them. So we're going to be on the cover our next issue for them, and then we're doing a merch collab. And they're like the #1 black-owned golf brand in the country right now, sponsored by Jordan, Mercedes, and doing some really cool things. So Earl and Elijah One are the founders of that, doing some dope things in the golf space at Morehouse and getting black kids into golf. So we're doing a merch collab with them. There's another company in Newark, New Jersey called Brown Mill, doing some amazing work on the East Coast. They've had, partnerships with Masego, Idris Elba, and NBA players wear their stuff all the time. So we got some things in the works for sure. But again, this is literally I'm building the plans on flying it. But what resonates with a lot of people is just like they want to be. Everybody who's not in Tulsa wants to have some type of tie with Greenwood. Like they love like, oh, I want to be. Now they get to be part of this history. And again, it doesn't have my name on it. Like, it's not about Trey, but it's about how can I use this as a bridge again to show we're all more alike than we are different. We're all really trying to do the same thing. We're all literally saying the same thing, just in different ways. So like, let's just, create this bridge and do it together.
So you talked a little bit about the collaborations and stuff. So we want to know like, what are some of the numbers, like the sales, like how many sales you've made, like starting, and how you've improved your business?
Yeah, so I would say starting in 2018 is when I launched the first T-shirts. That was in Black History Month. The first year, I think I'm printing maybe 50 to 100, and I did a lot of pre-sales. So, we're around a couple thousand. In 2021 was our best year. That's when we launched the shop over at Mother Road Market. They actually asked us to come there for a pop-up for Black History Month. We ended up having the best sales. I think we hit 6 figures that year, but we had the best sales month for February that they ever had, like in their 3-year history. Asked us to come back and open up be there like full time. So we ended up signing like for a year. So 2021, that was our highest year. We crossed over the 6-figure mark, around 101K. And then the following year, we did about 150. And then that's when we launched the magazine. So I put a lot of our eggs into that basket. So this year we paused on the merch a little bit, but we're about to ramp that back up with Juneteenth. But our goal for planning now with the merch collaborations that we're doing for 2025, it's 2024 right now. So for next year, 2025, to get to that 250K, 300K mark.
Gotcha.
Is our goal.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a blessing. Again, I'm learning how to allocate these things, and a lot of that revenue went into like team building. Because again, we have a kind of umbrella company called Gold Mill, which is our creative agency. So put a lot of revenue towards that as well. So and then we're also spinning up some other different projects outside of that. So Greenwood Ave is kind of one cog in the machine of this bigger umbrella of ideas that we want to produce. These different entities that all bridge to purpose.
That's great, man. I can't lie. What strategies do you employ for like sustainability in your business, or like in this competitive market, really?
Yeah, no, it's very competitive. I mean, if y'all got strategies, give them to me. I'm looking for some. Honestly, I'll tell a quick story. In 2023, I had a CFO, our chief financial officer, was a friend of mine, chief financial officer. So that'd be your guy that. The money guy. So like any, bookkeeping stuff, that money that comes in, that's
the
going
accountant.
out.
Yeah.
Accountant, the money, you need to get one of those for sure. He was working with me for about a year in 23. He actually ended up passing away in November of 2023, and all of in 2022. And all of 2023, like I didn't have that kind of financial partner, so I was managing the payroll, the finances, the income, the bookkeeping, the actual designing, the relationships, the collaborations. So it was a lot like on me personally, like in 2023. So I would say a good strategy is having like that help in that arena. Thankfully, also why I want to carry this on is to really honor Brian's legacy as well. Brian Stokes was his name. As of last year, or this year rather, we have a new CFO in place. His name is LJ. He's out of Atlanta. Again, friend of a friend connected us, but he's been helping us out on the strategic side of like how do we use these funds, not just to again get more merch, which is necessary, but like what part do we allocate to marketing? What part do we allocate to manufacturing? How do we get profit margins down? Do we now?
It's a great investment.
We mentioned like cut and sew, so like you can get blanks from different places, but you go cut and sew. it raises your profit margin because it costs less, but then your lead times are longer, so it takes longer to get here. So now we're trying to like, okay, how do we make this again more sustainable, make this more economically viable for us to move forward as a business. So a lot of it just like, again, I can design well, I know how to build teams, I know how to design, I know what looks good, but like I'm still learning like, okay, this has to be a business, so this has to make profit also.
Looking ahead, like what are like your goals and aspirations for like the future of your business?
Yeah, I love talking future. So y'all familiar with Spring Hill? You know LeBron James' company, Spring Hill. So Bron has I don't know what to call it. It's a creative entity. So like all his movies like Space Jam, his businesses, they all came out of this company called Spring Hill. So it's him, Mav Carter, the shop,
Oh
like
yeah,
all
that's
those
his
shoes.
best friend. Yeah, I know.
They produce all their entities uninterrupted. All comes out of Spring Hill. So the closest comp I can give is like I want to kind of create a Spring Hill like in Tulsa is the goal. So like with Gold Mill being able to do things like Greenwood Ave, I have a basketball concept that we're going to produce next year called XO. Just going over the love of the game in basketball. So it's merch and a facility concept that we're going to produce. But I want to like create this creative hub in Tulsa where these ideas can come out that can change the world. But not just for financial stake. Yes, it will be profitable. But to also have like the dopest, a place where other creatives can come in and like also be in purpose. So
an impact.
Create an impact. 100% is my goal. Is like I worked in the church previously, so a lot of it was just like it's all about impact. It's about the mission, and outside of the church, we still need that mission as well. But you got to have the margin too. So my goal for Gold Mill is like how do we marry the mission and the margin at the same time? So how do we create a place that yes, we do purposeful work, but we also can have the billions to give and to sow. And I want to be you guys heard of George Kaiser. Like I want to be a big philanthropist too. So when people say like when these buildings are popping up, I want to be able to like donate to those type of things. I want to be able to give more and do more and hire more people and help other people be in purpose. And that just takes finances. So I'm trying to build a machine right now to create those avenues. So I want to ask y'all a question. Y'all been asking me a lot of questions. So Kay as a senior, Josiah as a junior, do you guys already have plans for after crossover, like after graduation?
Well, my plan is to once I graduate, find a decent job, and then after I find that job that I'm making a significant amount of money on, I want to branch off and start my clothing brand. Like I told you, the Social Misfits. I'm gonna just start off first by just selling shirts and hoodies here and there, and just see if people really mess with it. And if they don't, I'm gonna continue doing it because I know a lot of people can relate to the meaning behind it. So it's like it's not. I don't have my mindset is like it has to work. It's not, and it's not something like you said with your brand. It's not so much the financial part, but I want to change people's lives and like let people know that they're not alone when it comes to feeling like an outcast or feeling different from other people.
Yeah, man. No, I'm with it. I think a lot of people like in our more drawn to brands now that have mission basis versus just like let me just make $100 t-shirt for no reason.
Right.
It says nothing and it means nothing. So
right.
Now I love that it has a mission behind it. So yeah, man. And again, y'all got so many resources now that wasn't available when I was in school. With YouTube University, like I promise, I feel like that's gonna be an actual thing by the time my kids are in college. But I mean, yeah, there's so many ideas and podcasts and resources and strategies available. So yeah, man, sky's the limit. What about you, Josiah?
Yeah, next year I'm gonna definitely do Tulsa Tech. I'm gonna do plumbing, but like I'm in the summer I'm gonna work a job. We're not thinking about doing this clothing brand. It's gonna be called Excidentious. It means like to fake a smile, and I feel like that like represents me. Even though I'm always smiling, like I could be like I could be smiling throughout the day, but like nobody know what's going on with me. But yeah, I feel like that's like a big word, and it means a lot to me. And I'm gonna do plumbing for like probably 2 years, see what the deal is with that, and then probably pursue a business like in that field or whatnot.
Yes, sir.
That's a bit.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good strategy. A lot of people will say like they see entrepreneurship and they just jump. And I mean, a strategy to take is like while you're doing that is like having, I've met a few CEOs that like run their companies while having a full-time job, because you have that backing, and it's not on like, I'm doing this, I'm building it, and if it's not working, then you have there's no safety net. So there's merit in like having something stable while you're building, like kind of that, they say the 9 to 5 and then you're 5 to 9, like nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't have no problem doing a 9
Yeah.
to 5 for a little minute,
Yeah.
just to run it up.
Yeah.
How do you feel about 1921 Race Massacre?
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big part of the city we live in, so it's crazy that it's not talked about more, or was a lot more hidden before the centennial a few years ago. But again, like I mentioned before, like to me, it's really less about, or what I take away from that story is like the resurrection part of that is like the rebuilding, and I wish that was more told than the actual massacre and the deaths. And it's unfortunate. Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, who's an activist here in the city, I'm sure you all have heard or seen her speak, but she says it best. I think like North Tulsa is an active crime scene. Like they're still they're still discovering bodies. They're still trying to figure out like what happened and who deserves reparations and what's going on. So like it is a sad part of our country and our city specifically. But again, what I hope to do through this and being somewhat tangentially attached to it is to try to drive more people to find out more for themselves, to read, go visit, go support Black entrepreneurs, not just here, but wherever you are, to you can't write that wrong, but try to move the conversation in the right direction.
So, how do you source materials from your clothing designs?
Sourcing material, I use a couple of different brands that I found that I really like. Starting off, it was again, I worked for a church previously, so I kind of launched the merch side of the church business when I was there. So I was doing a lot of stuff on like Bella and learned about Lane 7 and Comfort Colors and American Apparel, which was different back then. But so just learned kind of a few brands that were out there. So I started with those, just like, here's what I know. And then, I feel like a new brand pops up literally every 24 hours. There's something that comes up.
Yeah.
There's a new brand called AS Color that I really like. They have some really cool stuff. I was listening to this podcast from this interview from Damon John, who created FUBU. He was like, when he started, he was taking like Gap jeans and like just putting FUBU over the label. I was like, you did that? Like, let me see what I can do. So I tried some jean jackets one time. I just got them from Target and like relabeled them and like printed some stuff on them just to see like, do people like it? Is it worth it? So I mean, I've tried a few different things. I got some stuff from the Goodwill, like some army jackets that were all beat up, and did like a limited run of like some vintage jackets before. So really, it's wherever, if the garment's cool, like if I can do something cool with it that fits with our aesthetic, I'll try it out.
So explain fashion to me and like how it was growing up and some of like your inspirations and some of the people you looked up to when it came to the like getting dressed.
Yeah, that was a great question, and you're not gonna like the answer because again, I was not fashionable like whatsoever. Like I just started like paying attention to dressing like a few years ago. My biggest thing was like, again, I love design, love aesthetic, love putting them together, but it was more for other people versus me. Like even growing up, like my first like pair of like for real kicks were some Jerry Stackhouses, which y'all probably never heard of him before in your life.
I know.
You know who he is?
I know.
Old school player.
Yeah.
Never owned a pair of Jordans till like a year ago when somebody gave me a pair. I wouldn't say I'm like the most fashionable. Like again, I know how to put stuff together, but it was less like dressing and fashion for me. For me, it was more about like what impact could I create. So even like doing Greenwood Ave for me is now like I'm getting into it. Like I'm fresh. Like I'm learning who are the people to be looking at. So I mean, I look at everybody. So from your Virgil Abloh's R.I.P. To like Toby and Wigway, what he's doing, kind of marrying rap with fashion. Jerry Lorenzo with Fear of God, like how he's tying his messaging to the fashion as well. And again, there's so many people out there. There's I have a best friend. My best friend is John Stanton. He has a company called Lord Primo. He like actually like is literally sewing and putting clothes together. So I'm watching what he's doing. So just I kind of take a little bit from everybody. Is even kind of how I grew up in design. Like I still can't draw to save my life. So like I had to take like, okay, I kind of like how they paint. I kind of like how they do their fonts. Like kind of like how they do this. So I've always like collaging stuff together. So my fashion sense is kind of similar. Like I like how you do your pants, like how you do your shoes, like how you do your colors. And I'm like, okay, I can take all these things and then put them together to kind of make my own aesthetic.
Yeah, I like that. That's what I do. Just taking different pieces and getting ideas.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you like, what hoop shoes were you wearing? Like, when you was hooping?
When I was hooping,
Yeah.
what did I have? I played for Union back in the day, so we had like the team shoes. You know, the Nikes. I think one year we had the wasn't the Nike Shocks that I think Vince Carter was wearing.
Yeah.
Outside of that, y'all remember N1? I think
Yeah.
it kind of came back a little bit. So it was big when I was in like hot sauce. Like if y'all watch the documentary, like that was my hoop childhood. The A6s, like Allen Iverson was one of my favorite players. So grew up wearing a lot of his shoes. But yeah, that was where I was at. But N1 and AIs was like that was my era when I was hooping.
How was it like growing up in Tulsa for you?
Growing up in Tulsa, I moved here when I was 11. I would say I was pretty, I don't say sheltered in the sense like I never left the house, but like I had my like box. Like my parents were involved in the church, so I was at church all the time. And if I wasn't at church, I was either hooping or I was at school or doing homework. Like that was my world. Had a small circle of friends, and we would again go on church trips. I was play AAU, so we'd travel and hoop. Other than that, I was at home trying to make stuff. Big. I think if you asked me when I was like 7, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was like I want to be an inventor, which I don't really know what that meant, but I just like making stuff. So I used to create board games. I spent one summer here in Tulsa just like creating this video game. Yeah, that's just spent the whole summer just creating stuff. Yeah, and playing basketball. That was my childhood.
Okay, so how can people get involved or get in touch with you and your brand? Where can they reach you at?
Yes, sir. So our website is greenwoodave.com.
Gotcha.
You can find clothes there. You can find the magazines. You can find all our links there. Social, we're gwd.ave on Instagram and Facebook. So, yeah, reach out. Send us a line if you like something. Order some pieces. And, again, we give 10% of our proceeds back to North Tulsa efforts. So every little bit counts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I got you, man. Yeah, appreciate you having you on, man.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure. Lions Den. Y'all keep killing it, bro.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Lions Den Podcast. We out, man.